and we are talking about the Calgary real estate market. Are people still moving? Is this still happening? Is this a thing? Well, we're going to talk about that, the market, some numbers. We're going to dive into some headlines that we've seen, some articles that we've seen through Avenue Calgary, CTV, a whole bunch of great articles that we've come up with as well. And just get your questions. Get your questions ready. Type in the comments below what your questions are, because we are going to go live. We are live, and we're going to keep talking about the market and have some fun right after this. Hey everybody, we are back. We're having fun. It's the Calgary real estate market update for October. Hello, Rebecca.
Good morning. It's a little, after turkey, you're feeling a little slower. Clothes feel a little tighter today.
It's kind of like the waddle.
Yeah, you
like
feel a little more waddly. Yeah.
Waddly. A little waddly. That's the headline of the day. Waddly.
Yeah.
Oh man. So we got some things we're going to go through today. We're going to talk about the market, talk about some of the numbers, things that we've seen, and we're going to talk about some headlines. But more importantly, if you're watching, we would love to get your comments, get your feedback, get your questions. What are you seeing in the market? What are you experiencing and what's going on? I'm adjusting a few things here because I'm just seeing this live as we go. It's the fun part of live. And I'm going to make sure that we can see your questions and comments. There we go. Now we can see them. So yeah. So comment below, throw in some questions, things you've seen, maybe stories you've heard from other people who are buying or selling or thinking of buying or selling, or have you heard of people moving to Calgary from out of town? Because we're still seeing a lot of that. So are people still moving? That is the question that we're asking today. So what are you seeing?
Yeah. Lots of people moving.
Yeah.
Lots of people are moving. There's not many house options, and people I've talked to a lot keep asking, like, when is the fall market going to start? And we are still in a pandemic, which no one wants. We're all exhausted. Talking to this past week, I found it interesting because some people were thinking of making a move, perhaps selling their house because they're just not happy with what the government is doing. So that was an interesting conversation. It's really hard at this point to know if it's an emotional conversation or if they're going to actually proceed and make a move. So I think that.
So are these people like, what do you mean?
They're people that own a house already, and they bought their dream house a couple years ago, and they're not happy with the changes that are being made in regards to vaccines and stuff. And so they're choosing, and if their workplace mandates it, then they're they want to sell their house and move into something smaller. So it's hard to know if that's going to happen. What other options? Maybe it's the Pollyanna in me. I always believe when one window's closed, another door opens. But it will be interesting to see what happens.
It's true. It's true. And even just the changes that people are making. I mean, we're in another wave, and it is actually kind of interesting when we end up talking to people who are out of province. So I had some friends that I went out with this weekend, and he was saying he was on a big Zoom call, and he was the only guy from Alberta. And everyone, he's like, oh, I'm so-and-so from Alberta, from Calgary. And he's like, everyone's faces went like, oh, are you guys okay? Because the news going out there. I mean, yes, there's a lot happening in our city. There's a lot going on. But I mean, life is still happening.
Right.
Things are still happening.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, there's more COVID things going on and in this wave and more people working from home, but things are still moving. Things are still moving forward.
Yeah, I think there's still, we still need inventory because people are not leaving their homes perhaps as much as they used to.
Yeah.
And so then, they're not listing their home, or I think there's a level, and I think we talk about this lots between the two of us, is just that level of uncertainty and what's going to happen next. I think we're all a little bit worn out with that question.
No. And so we got a question here. So I have seen a lot of construction going on in Calgary and Carlington, Cornerstone community. Carrington, I think. Yeah. How is that possible if people are moving out? Well, I don't think people are moving out.
We're seeing more people move.
More people are moving to Calgary.
Into Calgary.
Yeah.
It's affordable. People can work from home. There's multiple people we're helping move from out east or out west just because they can own a home in here and have a better quality of life than they would have, or in what they're looking at is a better quality of life for kids, owning a home versus maybe owning a condo. So we're seeing the opposite, is that more people are coming in.
Yeah.
And then there's a supply chain issue with the builders. And so that, you used to be able to build in 6 months if you were to build last year at this time. Now that's taking almost 10 months. So, everything is slowed down and we keep seeing people come.
Yeah.
But
and that's the thing, like people are definitely moving here. And thank you for correcting, because I was thinking about moving into Calgary as well. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're moving to well, there's your response. So you're moving to Calgary too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is very interesting because one of the articles that we're going to go through actually talks about that. And maybe I'll jump into that right now. That way you can kind of see. But this one article that we wanted to discuss is the state of the residential real estate market in Calgary. So Avenue, the magazine, put this together. And it pulls up a story about this individual named Josh Sim, who now lives in Calgary. The summary of it all is lives in Calgary now, was in Ontario and Toronto working, and but was from Calgary and saw an opportunity. He could never afford a condo out there, and so ended up saying, "Hey, I can afford back in Calgary, and I can work remotely," and that's happening all over the place. So I don't know about your situation, Deep, but I think that is happening a lot. And one of the things that we found really interesting in here was Royal LePage, which is a national brand, did a report, and they came out with that 56% of Albertans aged 25 to 35 own their home right now. And 25% of those purchasers or owners actually bought during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I thought that was
very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, because at least specifically in Calgary, they'd really held back. Like they didn't want to buy. And
for years,
I would say since 2016, and then all of a sudden they all kind of came out and thought, interest rates are low. It's time to
Let's do it.
It's time to buy a home.
Yeah, and that's what this article talks about is the mortgage, the interest rates, all these things are low. People now can afford more house. So this individual, his big part of his story is he wanted to be able to have a home gym because he can't go to the gym. So he wanted to have a garage that he could park and still have a gym. Wanted to have these different things. And I mean, this is one story that was in Avenue, but I mean, our agents, our team, all the time have these stories of people moving here from other places. One article that we aren't bringing up or talking about that I did see, it was interesting how, what was it? Oh, it'll come back to me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think reality is people continue to move. Also, the other interesting, unintended consequence of the pandemic is that people who would have been planning these big weddings haven't been able to have big weddings. So then they've saved a lot more money. And so then they're putting that into a house investment. I think it's a symbol for some couples that it's a start of the next chapter. Yeah. Or, other couples I've helped, have used the opportunity to sell and then, move and make a different change. So, I mean, the reality is even through a pandemic or even through any, whatever year it is, 2001, 2021, people are still living, and we all want to live and keep making changes and celebrate these milestones. So that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. And the other interesting part of this article too, it talks about there's a big upside for downsizers. I can't talk today. Downsizers and investors. So those individuals and families or couples that have a single family detached home, it's been a great time to sell some of that stuff.
Right.
I know for us, we had a rental with another couple, and we were like, this is probably a great time to sell that.
Right.
And so we got out of it and basically got our money back and figured out what to do with it. But that's also happened. And people downsizing. Right. That's a huge part. So I'm actually doing a video with one of our agents' parents in a week or two where they made a massive downsizing life transition, but, found the right thing and then were able to sell their house really, really quickly because of everything, right? So, yeah. Let's see what we got here. So many comments. I love this. Considering COVID is at peak right now in Calgary, Alberta, how does this impact the price of a detached house? Well, the only thing we can go off of is history. And when we have been inside of COVID before and these restrictions and everything, what have we seen happen previously?
Yeah, we've seen people want to start house shopping. I think the inventory is, I don't know if that's why people aren't listing their homes, because unless they have a place to go. It's not like they're at work all day or, in that regard. I mean, many people, again, most people are vaccinated, but again, you don't have to be vaccinated to see a house. You are wearing masks. So I think part of it is that, people are staring at their four walls. And so either that's promoting them to do renovations or it's encouraging them to make a move. So,
and during a time like this too, a lot of people, I think as humans, we want to control things.
Right.
Whether we say we're a control freak or not, I think we all like to have a little bit of control of something.
Absolutely.
And if all of a sudden there's things that are being forced upon us that are uncontrollable and we don't know, then we want to figure out what can we control.
Right.
And I think a lot of people figured out that they could control where they live.
Right, yeah.
and during these times, they're going, hey, well, maybe we just need to finally make that move because we saved up money, we did this, we made changes and whatever. But I think that's a big part of it too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's impacted people in so many different ways. And you just have to get into we used to get in a coffee shop, but I guess on a Zoom call or I would avoid Facebook and all those the heightened channels. That seems stressful to me. But
That's right. Well, let's jump in. So if you have more questions, we're going to come back to these and put them in. We want to keep having conversations with you. So thank you for you two that are making those comments so far. And I know we have a lot of watchers and viewers that are watching right now. So go ahead, jump in, make a comment, question, things that you're seeing. Or video topics you'd like us to shoot in the future. We want to see that as well. So, but let's jump into the actual market itself. So this is what has happened. There we go. This is what has happened in the Calgary market over the last month. So these are stats that went right from CREB, Calgary Real Estate Board, that went right up till the end of September. That's why it's called September 2021 on here, but ours is an October update. So we're just talking about the latest numbers that we have. And what we found is that all condos and houses in all of Calgary, now these are all stats for Calgary, but Okotoks and Airdrie and Cochrane and Chestermere are all witnessing similar things when it comes to detached, attached townhouses and condos. It's all very, very similar, actually. And so what they're seeing right now is our benchmark selling price is up 8.5% compared to last year. So that's a total of 2,100 sales, which is 26% higher than we saw last September. And that is, if I remember in reading some of the stats and looking at it, that is one of the biggest increases that we've seen in a long time.
Since 2007.
That's right.
Yeah, is how it
and number of new listings has gone up a little bit, 2,900, so 6% increase. So properties coming on the market, but the inventory is still dropping. So it's 5,600 listings on the market. And if you actually look into this further behind these numbers, a lot of these new listings are not single-family attached properties. So the detached sales are up. But when you look at the total number of listings and break that number out, it's not a lot of single-family homes coming on the market. And that's what's keeping this market still tight like it is.
Yeah, and sellers are understanding that and wanting premium for their properties. And buyers are, it has been a buyer's market in Calgary previously to this year for so long that it's a little bit of an adjustment for some. So it's just an interesting conversation, and you have to really, I worked on 2 offers last week, and it didn't feel like even the seller really wanted to sell. Like they were pretty negotiate. They were pretty indifferent about it. So using different strategies, and overall, I'm finding when people are making a move, it's just emotional because that's the atmosphere that we're seeing.
Absolutely. And so detached houses themselves have gone up almost 10% year over year for the benchmark sale price. So that's 537.5. And how they come up with benchmark sale price, is actually what the average or the typical type of property. So it's not looking at averages. It's not doing medians. It's saying, okay, the typical type of property would be I don't know, I'm making it up here, but like a 1,700 square foot, 3-bedroom, like it just is looking at that and what is that selling for. And so that's what they're doing when they talk about benchmarks. I know we've had that question before. And so detached houses, 537.5, 1,200 sales last month. So that's up 20%. Semi-detached, so this is kind of your infills, attached properties like that. They're at 424, which is an 8.5% increase, and 210 sales, which is up 37%. Oh my goodness. And so what's interesting too is the inventory. There's a lot more inventory when you start moving towards this. Townhouses, I think, are kind of they're not moving as quickly, and apartments are not moving even as quickly either.
But there was stuff that I saw that I had as my own listing that had sat,
yeah.
and all of a sudden, we were able, and my seller wasn't willing to adjust her price, but because there was less inventory, the demand had increased. We got an offer, and then someone the next day had said they wanted to write an offer. So there was a little bit more of demand in the condo market than we've seen previously. So all of these things are ebbing and flowing, and it's important to connect with your favorite realtor or give us a DM us or whatever, and we'll have those conversations, because we're talking about generalizations, and there's so many different factors in all of these conversations.
Yeah. And townhouses, they're sitting at 299.6, so up 7%, and 318 total sales last month, so 24% up compared to last year. And apartments, 366 sales, which is up 51%. So that's a huge increase in the number of apartments that sold.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And 253,000 is the benchmark price, which is essentially the same, which is only 1% up from last year. But when we look at the articles, this is the one that was kind of interesting. So Calgary hits a 6-year high for condo sales. So that talks exactly. Let me switch back to this, the 51% increase. And so where this is coming from is a lot of it is there was a big inventory push. A lot of condos got listed, which means, the buyers that are looking and waiting and wanting to buy, all of a sudden we're like, ooh, there's good stuff now.
Right.
Let's go get it.
And I think too, prices, for many condo owners, which I talked to, who've bought over the last couple of years, there has been a dip in the market, which has been frustrating. So at this point, they just want to get rid of it, or they're wanting to sell, and the buyer demand seems higher. Plus, there's just not a lot of single family options, and you can't get a single family option for. I had someone who was coming to Calgary last week say, they'd like to buy a detached home with a garage for 180, and I was like,
180,000.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know what to say.
I don't even know where that would be.
Yeah, there's nowhere, and so I think that's part of then if your budget doesn't suit something, then you're moving around,
figuring it out. Yeah, totally. And the other part of this article here, this one was, I think it was a CTV article. But the luxury market in high demand. So Sotheby's, which is another national brand, found that $1 million plus property sales experienced double-digit growth across all housing types in Calgary throughout the summer and the first 15 days of September. So a lot of people making that change and moving up, right, and upsizing.
Yeah.
So, and so the last article, because we talked about this one already, with Avenue, and this last one here is options for real estate investors with only $100,000 in available capital. So not everybody has $100,000 in capital that they can just go and invest, but there could be a lot of individuals who have made that in their home in other cities or in Calgary here, and they want to invest. And the thing that I wanted to note inside of this is that Calgary was I can't find it in here. anyways, it's in here. But what was said was that Calgary was named as one of the better places to put your money. And every other city or town that they put on that list was not a major city. And so what I find interesting about that is Calgary still is a great place to be purchasing and buying,
right?
Because of how affordable it still
right.
is, and what you can get for rents and income and returns and all that kind of stuff. So I just found that was interesting, that Calgary was named in this article as well. So yeah.
I mean, I think there's always opportunity. It's what you're looking for, what works well for your family. Whether a move or investing, selling, downsizing, like it. These are conversations that I think as you have them and we can create a plan, it becomes more clear.
Yeah.
I think that all of these are stats and articles, but we can really start to create a plan of how it impacts you and what's the best thing for you.
And your goal. Yeah. And as we're talking about that, what is best thing for you? Deep has another comment here. He said, best builders in Calgary. There's a lot of great builders. You've listed a whole bunch there. But what I would suggest, Deep, is that these representatives at the builders, that's a big word for this morning, I guess. These individuals that are working at the builders, they're working for the builder, and you want to have someone that is representing you. So we shot another video, and if you look, I think it's live. I think Tony and I shot it, and it was talking about when you're looking at new communities. The one thing that I think a lot of people forget is like, I want to build a new home, but there's a lot of homes that could be on the market that are only a year or two old and are pretty much brand new, and you're going to get a better deal because sometimes basement developments, landscaping, all of those things that are out there, they're not necessarily accounted for in resale because you don't get the full value out of it. So if you spend $5,000 on your yard, you're not going to get $5,000 back in your resale for your yard. And so it's just
lots of factors, and then
a lot of factors,
and what community you are looking in, what price point, which would maybe be the suggestion. So again, feel free to directly contact us as far as it's just such a broad question.
Yeah,
so
it is.
It would be
and it really depends on the area. So find us on Instagram or find us on Facebook or just info@chamberlaingroup.ca, and we'll definitely help you figure out, because there are good builders and there are some that are a little bit different, and you're welcome. You're welcome. So I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up today?
No, just it's a great, Tuesday, it feels like a Monday because we all are at Thanksgiving. We're going to wobble around a little bit.
Oh, wobble. Well, on that note, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday and happy wobbling. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. We're still going to watch it. We're still going to be seeing it. And if you're watching live, hit live. If you're watching replay, type in replay. But we want to interact with you. We want to help you. And again, our brokerage is here to help you moving up into the home that you deserve and you want. And we want to help you guys do that. So reach out to us anytime. 587-366-5400 is our phone number. And info@Chamberlain Group is where you can reach us. And that's what we got. We'll see you guys later.